We continue Unit 3, Day 2, Inverses, Domain Restrictions, and Parent Function Inverses. If a function does not pass the horizontal line test, then you must restrict its domain to guarantee that the inverse will be a function. Let's first talk about vertical line test and horizontal line test. The vertical line test is used to determine if a graph is a function. So if I look at this parabola and I draw a vertical line anywhere on the graph, this vertical line will only touch it one time. If I draw it here, it still only touches one time. Or here, it's only touching one time. So the parabola is a function because it passes the vertical line test. Well, we use a horizontal line test to determine if an inverse is a function. So we draw a horizontal line through the picture on the graph. If the horizontal line touches the picture anywhere on the picture more than one time, it is not a function. Since it's not a function, I have to restrict its domain to guarantee that the inverse will be a function. To do this, we find the middle of the function and restrict the domain to the right half only. So the middle of this parabola is right here. So I only need to restrict the graph to the right half. The restriction on this graph is x is greater than or equal to 2. I get that because this is the line of symmetry at x equals 2. The graph can equal 2, but it has to be greater than. Let's look at two more graphs. Looking at our graph, we can see that this is the cubic function. Is the inverse a function? So let's go ahead and perform the horizontal line test. Okay, so far this is a function. It is still a function. And even right here, it is still a function. The graph is curving down and then it's curving up. It is still a function. So this graph is a function. So I do not need to have a domain restriction on it. Let's look at the second graph. The second graph is an absolute value type of function. We know it passes the vertical line test, but does it pass the horizontal line test? Is its inverse a function? Since the horizontal line crosses in two spots, the inverse is not a function, so I need to restrict my domain. To do that, we find the middle of the graph, which is right here, and we're restricting it to the right half only. So x is -1 at this point, so x has to be greater than or equal to -1. Now look back at your parent functions photable. Which pairs of parent functions are inverses? You should have seen that the quadratic and the square root are inverses of each other. You should have also seen that the cubic and cube root are also inverses of each other. And exponential and logarithmic functions are also inverses of each other. Are any domain restrictions required on these parent functions? You should see that yes, there are some domain restrictions required on one of these, and that is the quadratic. And the last question says, are any of the parent functions their own inverse? So look back at your parent function photable. Which one is its own inverse? You should have seen that that was linear. You do need to know all of this for your test, so make sure you write it down. This concludes Day 2 of your Inverse Photable, Unit 3.